We're actually recording a podcast, and it just clicked in my brain.
You gotta talk in the microphone, dude.
I know.
Cinetherapy podcast with Sam and Mitch.
Welcome to the first ever Cinetherapy podcast by Mitch Williams and Sam McGhee of Inland Film Co. This week we discuss the inception of the DAILYREEL and how we shot ourselves in the foot at one point with a client by the work they saw through the DAILYREEL. We discuss nonprofit work versus commercial work. I talk about my current favorite filmmaker. Sam discusses his current favorite series on Netflix and more. With that, we'll just dive right in. Sam and I have no clue what we're doing. We have had this idea of doing a podcast since we started together a year ago, and we finally decided let's just do it and stop talking about it. Same thing that got us into the madness of the DAILYREEL, or some people know it as hashtag DAILYREEL if they've seen it online. We're at over 200, over 205 or something at this point by the time anyone who's listening is listening to this. Sam and I started Inland Film Co. 1 year ago. Before we talk about the history, I figured we could give you a little background of why we even think we wanted to do a podcast.
That's a good idea.
Need a little more cutting on this episode.
There's gonna be a lot of cutting on this one. We'll get into a rhythm though. I think that's the weirdest thing right now is that we don't sit down and talk and do the talking. So now I just have to set into it.
What do you mean?
I have to let it. We're never on camera doing things, and so now I have to really let it happen.
Yeah.
I'm diving into being the one doing the talking.
Imagine Chad White just served us up some nice Zona Blanca, some beautiful, gorgeous ceviche on a tostada, and we're sitting down at our table. I say our table because we've sort of been the only ones that sit there when we go in, and you and I are just talking, shooting the beep.
I do imagine that. I do actually have one question. Do you actually like sitting at that table?
I kind of prefer the bar, or not the bar, but the taller table.
I wonder, because every time we walk in there, I go for that table because I like sitting down. It's hard for me to sit at a tall table, but I get the impression that you would rather sit at the bar.
I like the long bar table because it says to anyone else that hey, come sit with us. Gives an opportunity to chat with new people. But I sit at that table because since you broke your leg in February, I have known that if we go to Zona Blanca, that table, let's sit at a lower space.
Thank you.
And most recently, there have been one or two times in the last month that you're yeah, let's sit at the bar. So the last time we went last week, I said, let's sit. Do you want to sit at the bar? And you said, could we sit over there? I think that was a bad leg day for you.
That was definitely a bad leg day. I have good leg days and I have bad leg days. Let's be honest. The days that I wear my Vans are the bad leg days.
Yeah, you were wearing your Vans for sure. Yeah, somebody commented on that too.
Somebody really commented on that.
Yeah.
We walk in with all of our gear, our Pelicans and everything, and this guy says, "Oh, you're wearing Vans. I bet that's uncomfortable. I wish I could deal with feeling terrible in my legs wearing Vans all day because they look cool."
Yeah, and his job is a lot of walking. This guy that we were working with, and he was not wearing Vans. Don't know what he was wearing, but can't remember.
They were Levi's.
Yeah, they were Levi's. What the heck?
They were denim shoes.
Yeah. So, yeah, he said he has multiple pair of Vans, but they're all at home, and he just apparently wears them on special occasions. So circling back to why we started this podcast, we have had multiple conversations at places like we just mentioned, Zona Blanca, in the car. We spend plenty of time together in Sam's yellow FJ or my Ford F-150, and we spend every day that we edit and work together in the studio looking across from each other, and we have conversations about whether it was getting in difficult conversations with a client or miscommunication or misunderstanding, whatever, or positives. We've aired multiple or premiered multiple documentary shorts or little films at events, at fundraisers, and we have stories on the pros, the cons, things that we would suggest if you're a filmmaker, things we would suggest if you're a nonprofit or any sort of organization listening. With that, we've had a number of conversations with one another that were like, that would be really cool on a podcast. If I heard that prior to this experience, maybe it would have brought me into a different mindset going into this project or this relationship, and so on and so on. So we ultimately, we don't consider ourselves wise. We don't consider ourselves, expert director of photography or expert, people in cinema or film, period. But we are constantly aspiring to be, better in our craft, and we're pushing ourselves. We feel like if there's anything anybody can learn from us, awesome. And we hope that somebody hears something from us and they have a different take on it and they want to get a hold of us via email or phone call or whatever and share their experience with us so we can learn from them. That's really what we're pushing for in this. I don't know if you have anything else.
That's also something that I've noticed we learn, you and I learn when we're talking about things and actually bringing them to the surface. I think that a lot of the topics we always have in the back of our minds, or something that we, like an idea that's just sort of sitting somewhere in our subconscious. The way that we actually work through things and get better is when we are talking. And I mean, you said it, we are sitting across from each other all the time. It's ironic that we chose to do it even more, like get rid of the desks, bring us one desk, put a light over top. But I think that one of the best parts for me about working in the film industry for a year now, a whole year, I've actually been able to work with a partner, somebody who has a similar goal. And I think I've grown exponentially in my own field, just having another human being with similar goals in mind, talking about these things, bringing them up. I have hundreds of ideas every single day that I could implement. But if I just sit there and do it silently, at the end of the day, I'm going to go home and my wife is going to see what's on my Instagram feed and go, what on earth have you been doing? But if I actually have somebody else to talk these things through, I think I've seen so much more growth in cool ways. That's also why I love listening to podcasts. I get to hear other people. Like, I think most of the podcasts I listen to have multiple people that are talking, and they're like, these ideas feel like they're coming up then and there. You have to put yourself on the spot. Was it one of our clients that we film for in the financial industry? Basically they're doing podcasts too. We're recording something similar, but in the financial industry. And he said, if you, he forces himself to go live recording once a week, every Friday, he's got to go live and he has to have his stuff together. And it's in those, because he forces himself to do it, he grows in his everyday job just because he has to push himself to talk. So we're kind of practicing what we preach right now. We're going to do so many podcasts and there's going to be so many cutting of
a little cough. We might just give it to you raw. Who knows? I can't promise you we're always going to have the time. Also, disclaimer, in this little section of the podcast, we might as well let people know that we're located right next to an OBGYN office. So if you do, for any reason, hear the sound of a heartbeat monitor, that happens quite often while we're here. So if you hear
have you ever noticed that sound happens like sometimes at the perfect moment if we're editing something and we finished it and we are like exporting it and it's coming, we hear the heartbeat, like, oh my gosh.
Or it like happens when you're listening to songs and you press play on Artlist and you think that the sound,
that sound is
coming
in
through
there.
your computer, and it's just like, whoom, 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 and you're like, yeah, and it just never started playing. You have to refresh the page. That happens. So we probably should talk about the name of this podcast.
Cinetherapy.
The idea behind it is that we talk all things film, all things cinema. We have a good friend here in town who we hope to get on this podcast someday, that we have our own little group called Filmtherapy, and we really like that name, but someone else took it online, so there it is. That's the truth. So we went with Cinetherapy.
That is a good one. I do like, though, I think it's appropriate that we're Cinetherapy because film therapy doesn't have an N that we can make backwards or upside down.
Yeah.
Like our logo.
Exactly. You'll see our really cool little.
So it worked out really well. You just said something a minute ago that I think has really impacted the way that I view our jobs. But it's been something that for the last year that we've worked together, I have latched onto. We avoid calling anything that we do a video on purpose because we don't. Yes, we're making videos. They're going to go on YouTube. They're really short. They're like anywhere between 60 seconds and 3 minutes. It's a video that's going to go on somebody's YouTube channel. But we call them films because we want to elevate in our minds and in our clients' minds what we're making. We want to elevate it to another level. We want it to be an art piece. But you said we've premiered some films at events. And I think elevating it, that's just elevating it that much more. We have made some essentially product videos for people where we film, they're talking, we put some B-roll on top of it. I mean, it's pretty standard, but when we say we've premiered a film in our own minds and in our clients' minds, it makes us all respect what we're doing. And I think that's been on my mind a lot for the past year, is just taking what we're doing seriously, making it much more than just we made a video, because that's something we talk about a lot when we have a client come in here or a new potential client. So let's say the one film we just premiered, like what was it, 3 or 4 months ago, this person, the head of a nonprofit, walks in and they say, hey, we've got an event in 3 months. We need a video. Mm-hmm. And so we already know, in our minds, okay, well, that means we're going to sit down and interview somebody. We're going to go film some B-roll. We're going to pick a song. We're going to throw it on there. They're going to play the video. It's going to go on their Facebook, and we're going to move on to the next one. But I think when we say we're going to make a film and we premiere the film, it brings so many more people into the process. It makes it feel like it's something greater than that. It makes us stop. I think it forces us all to stop and think about it. That's something that's been on my mind a lot since we started working together a year ago.
We've premiered a number of videos, like I call them videos.
Can you hear the quotes?
We've premiered a number of our films at these nonprofit events, and I think if there's anything I've thought to myself is that Sam and I, it's no secret. Hi, Mom.
Good.
That was Mom. Love you, Mom. I'll write you back later. Sam and I there's no secret, I guess, between you and I, that we want to make movies eventually someday. So our business is Inland Film Co., and we kind of coined the term cinematic marketing videos. We've tried to bring that mindset in everything we do. And if anyone's listening to this and they have similar goals and dreams and aspirations and they're working on commercial work, I think the nonprofit work for us has been the one area where we've been able to really go all in with that mindset.
Yeah.
And I think it's a reason why I've tried to word it that we're premiering something, because it's the one opportunity where we actually get to sit in front of hundreds of people, anywhere from 200 to 300 people at any of these given events. We're actually able to see the reactions in a similar way, not the exact same way that a director or a crew, or a cast from an actual film gets to sit in a theater and hear the response. I think that going into those nonprofit projects has given us the creative freedom and creative liberties to approach it in a way that we care about this so much that it's an art piece on our side, but also it's the goal and the mission is to tell a story for this organization that is, creates some sort of hero. We could talk about that later in terms of like how we've come to that mindset, I guess. But
the hero.
The hero. I think, this idea of premiering, that's if you're doing commercial work, this is where I'm breaking the fourth wall, so to speak, and talking to anybody that might be listening. If you're doing commercial work, I would suggest weigh your commercial work so much in the private world that it gives you enough capacity and like capital to be able to take 4 weeks and you front load everything, get all your commercial work done. This is kind of what we do. And so that almost that whole month or at least a few weeks is taken care of, and all your clients are taken care of. And then it gives you like all this time to go all in on that organization's video. That's been a really cool thing for us.
Yeah, it definitely felt really good to be able to pour all and we quoted something, we talked about, we set up what the project was going to be, and then we went all out and went past what we even thought we would do, because we got really into it, and it felt good to know that we gave ourselves the chance and the time to do it.
True. And that's another thing. I would say that if you have capacity to go over what you quoted and you have the time, you should, because if not, you're a bleep hole. Like, I don't know if we're gonna cuss on this.
I do think that, like, I get, because I've worked with nonprofits a lot, mostly just as a DP with another producer or another director or somebody else. And I think that I've noticed, maybe it's not just nonprofits, but I've worked in this commercial film industry for a while now, that I've been able to interact with people who do go the extra mile. And I think sometimes they can go way too far the extra mile, and then they're strung out, and I can even see it in there, like in people's personal lives, that they've definitely gone too far with their work, and now there's no time for anybody in their personal life, or their marriage is struggling and all these different things. And I've never wanted that, but at the same time, I've seen some people who just cut it off right at this is exactly what we said we would do, and your request is too much. And it kind of, like, it irks me when I hear that. I get it, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't, like, we just went over to a store today and we said, hey, can we check out at this computer? And the guy said no, and your response was, that's something I want to hear in customer service, is no. I think what we want to do is we want to find that line of we're not going to do more than what we know we said we could do, but at the same time, we're not just going to say no. We're going to work with this. We're going to see we're going to say yes, but I don't know. I think it's on I'll reference, you referenced Minimalist. I'll reference another podcast, Ryan Conley's Film Riot podcast. Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. I'll figure it out and put a link to the podcast or something in this, but where it was another director or producer. His most recent film was picked up by A24, and he said that no should never be the end of, like, it should never be the end of a answer or the question.
I remember you saying this.
It's the beginning of the answer. So
Yeah.
If I come out to you and I say, hey, could you do this in an hour? And you couldn't do it in an hour, it shouldn't be no. It should be no, I couldn't do it in an hour, but if you gave me 2 hours, I could do it. Or no, I can't do it in an hour this way, but if we were to do it this way, it's not going to look exactly the same, but it's going to get us very close to that.
Yeah.
I could do it in an hour.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, and I think in terms of what you were talking about with the nonprofit work, I think it's more of, if you have the capacity, do it, as long as, you know, obviously you're communicating with, if you have a family, communicate with your family that this is what we've committed to. If you don't have a family, you have nothing to worry about, and you better not be complaining about doing too much work.
Yeah.
So I think that if you have the capacity, or if you're able to build that capacity, that time,
Yeah.
it's looking at it and saying, you know, we're going to do this because we want to, we're going to do this because we think it's special. And I think I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. I know that, one, you're going to get the call back the next year, because they're going to see that work ethic that you have. 2, you're going to have something that you're really proud of. And 3, we all have, I think we just all have that extra time. We all have that ability to wake up, you know, a couple hours early, stay in the studio hours and hours later. I think it's there, and if you're willing to go that extra mile, it's gonna, you know, it's gonna be a huge reward.
Yeah.
And in this most recent project that we're talking about, we committed to a 5-minute video in the grand scheme of things, and we gave almost an 11-minute film. And I know I said video, but
No, I'm more laughing about the thought of like saying we're going to make a 5-minute and then making an 11-minute could totally, on their end, screw up things. But it's funny. It's funny to think about it that way. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I always I laugh when I hear we committed to 5 minutes. Maybe they asked for 5 minutes and we gave them 11 minutes, and that might have been like 5 minutes is all we really wanted. But like the story that we worked on with their team just kept growing and growing, and we loved where it was going. We didn't want to just say, okay, we're going to cram what we can into 5 minutes. If the story that we've all come up with is 11 minutes, then it's going to be 11 minutes.
yeah,
It has to be.
totally. And I think that's, again, goes back to communication. Like talking about communicating with your family, it's communicating with the client, saying, hey, we have so much content here that we think this has to be
Right.
closer to 10 minutes. And so they're able to work their schedules for the night that it premieres, which is their fundraiser. And they're able to say, okay, well, we got to make sure we have that at least a 10-minute block in place. And, you know, ultimately, if we were told that this needed to be done in 3 minutes, sure, we could make something in 3 minutes, but it's going to be 3 dailies you know, on our end. You know, it's not going to be 3 stories.
We measure things in dailies, the length of a daily reel.
I think actually it might be worth to talk about the dailies. Like,
You were listening to a Gary Vaynerchuk. We both listened to Gary Vaynerchuk, but Gary was talking to a Vine star or a rapper or something. Who was he talking to?
Nicholas Morales, or I don't know, Miguelis, I don't know. He had millions of followers on Vine, and then Twitter announced they were shutting down Vine, and his whole business was around ad revenue on Vine, so that he lost that. But he had met Gary, he had known Gary, and so they reconnected for this podcast, and I was listening, and this kid was talking about how he was really struggling to make it, and he had all these ideas for songs. He had hundreds of songs, I think, and he was struggling because he went from 8 million followers or something on Vine to 100,000 followers on Instagram, and it just wasn't the same. Gary said, I challenge you to release a new song or new music video. It doesn't matter what it was, but to push out a new song or a new music video or something every single day for 365 days. And this guy that was on the podcast, he was like hesitant to like agree to it. Like Gary just kept pushing it, and he was not. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like maybe I should. Like it wasn't like he had to think on it. And I heard that and was like, that's a pretty crazy idea. And Sam and I started the business within those couple of months that I heard that podcast, and we made our film reel, and it got a pretty solid reception. It won us multiple jobs, like right off the bat. Yeah. And that was when I was like, why do we have to wait 1 year
to make another one? Reel? Yeah.
And so I was like,
you said, let's make a daily reel. And for some reason I heard you say daily, and I thought, well, that has a ring to it. That means we're going to post once a week. And that seemed intimidating to me in my head, posting once a week. I thought maybe once a month. Once a week was a lot. And you're like, no, I mean every day. And I didn't even respond. I was like, no.
I made a daily reel, the first daily reel, 001. You can find it on our YouTube. I sent it to Sam. He's like, sweet. I think we probably have enough content to make another one for next week. I was like, no.
Next week?
No, I think we need another one tomorrow. I'm thinking another one tomorrow.
Starting out, like making the dailies, we had no clue where they were going to go. We just knew, okay, it has to be like a mini film reel. What are things that could go together that could be like a short film reel somewhere between 20 seconds to 60 seconds, something that fits on Instagram, but we post it on all the platforms, and it just goes out every day.
And it it was crazy. We made I think I made a few through like our last one before like Christmas break. Full disclosure, we did take off Christmas break.
We did. But we told somebody recently that we make a daily reel, and usually their reaction is, "Oh, that's crazy."
And that's
Tell
cool.
me about that. But we did tell somebody, yeah, we make a daily reel, and their instant response, their instant question was,
"Do you do weekends?" just
do you do weekends?
Do you do weekends?
Oh my gosh. And it was so serious too.
And this person, it was pretty hilarious.
We've been talking about it ever since.
Yes. So, anyways, and then I remember the first day after we were in this groove that Sam was like, hey, can I make a daily?
Yeah, you were making them. Yeah. Now I want to be a part of it.
And it turned into this creative outlet, I think, for us to, one, while we're working on a project, think about like, how do we see it before we've even made it?
It's kind of an experiment for the projects we are going to work on for a client.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like real dailies. Like half the time, if we do start a project for a client and we go film a bunch of stuff, we are going to go through and make dailies, literal dailies of all the footage that we just shot. And so it is a way to kind of think through all the footage we just shot. How are we going to use this in the final project?
And experiment with things like color grading.
Yeah.
Experiment with music. I think that's one of the cooler things, is that like we can see things like, man, this would be really cool if it was dark. And in terms of the tone for the music. But then in all reality, the music needs to be more uplifting but it's our way to show, if we were to make this dark, we would make it dark.
Yeah. Like, and we actually, like, it's you just said that it would be cool if this was dark, but in all reality, it has to be a little happier. A lot of times we will make dailies that are really dark, and it's a way for us to, like directors cut, even though our director's cuts are shorter, it is kind of a way for us to do like the dark thing that we wished it was, and we can share those as daily reels. But then the final client thing is what the client wants, and then we can be happy with what we made for the client because we also got the creative expression of showing the way that we saw the moment.
Another side of it was sort of a inspiration, if we want to give a shout out to like the wedding photography community. One of the things I've always thought is crazy is they're able to post every single day a photo of the work that they're working on. And I think as filmmakers, I think the saying is everything that didn't make it to the final cut is left on the editing room floor. And that dates back to when there was actual film.
Yeah.
And in our world, it's everything just remains on our giant hard drive.
Yeah.
And it'll potentially just never see the light of day. And with that, we were able to say, okay, this may not be the client's favorite shot. This may not be something that makes it into the final cut. But for us, we really liked this for whatever reason. Sometimes it's just funny because it was us doing something funny.
Yeah.
But other times it's like a recruitment film, and we need to have this person smiling, but we also got them with this really serious face. And it's like that serious face, it speaks to us in some random weird way.
Yeah.
And we want to share it.
I do think that to further that one, the client wanted the smiling shot, but they also had this serious face. My background is in wedding photography, and I can't remember if this was somebody said this, and I can't remember if it was somebody that I look up to that I was watching online, or if this was somebody who actually said this to me in person. Maybe it was in I did go to photography school. I wonder if it was something I learned in school. I'm never, ever going to reference school because we learn so much more on the internet now. But it was said that your clients, the work that you pick, that you want your clients to see, the work that you liked the most, that's what's going to get you more work. Potential clients don't care about the smiling shot that did make it into that client's film. The recruitment film that we're talking about, where you said they wanted a smiling shot, that smiling shot made that client happy and it worked for them. But that's not going to continue to get us work. The serious shot, we are cinematic marketing videos. People are experiencing cinematic marketing videos the way that we want to make them, and we're getting work because of these things that we're posting that we like. And if we liked the serious shot and we post the serious shot and the smiling shot, it is the serious shot that gets us more clients ourselves. In the wedding industry, it was the way that it was said to me in the wedding industry was, nobody cares to see the family photos. The bride and groom that you actually photographed the wedding for, their most precious photos that you gave them are the ones with her mom, or the one where the groom was hugging his dad. Like those photos, that client, those are going to be the most special to that client. But the one that was most special to you as the photographer was the one that you put all the time into getting it all perfect, and it was like the sunset and it was amazing. And you post that on your Instagram, and you have a bunch of people asking about your rates or wanting to know more. But if you post the photo, now there are special cases, maybe the emotion was really cool and the groom and the dad hugging, but totally. It's most of the time the thing that we liked and we wanted to post, that's the thing that's going to get us more views. And so we've had so many times where the smiling shot made it into client film, but the serious one really spoke to us in a way that we don't still maybe not understand, but that's happened so many times, and we've posted them in dailies, and those are the ones that people talk about, that serious face. Why were they so serious? I don't know, they were just thinking about, we asked them, can you say this? And they were thinking about that. And then they turn on the camera and they say it. But it was the thinking that, when taken out of context, it really is kind of cool looking. It's real cinematic.
That is like a perfect segue to how the dailies have impacted like expectations from clients.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that, we at one point, really big project, we went in and found out their what they wanted, what they were looking for. They gave us the past couple of years as an example of like the video that they used, and we were looking at it like, okay, well, we can make that, and we'll make it better, or in our eyes, we'll make it our style. We'll elevate that project or that video, the style of video, to another level. And we go and do that, and we had been posting dailies for this client with this client's work the whole time, and we give them the final project, this video.
I didn't know which project you're talking about until just now, and now I'm starting to sweat.
We give them this film, and we're so proud of it because we're like, this is what they asked for. This was what we
went out and bought a music track.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was epic.
It was epic. And it was an expensive music track. Anyways, we go out, do this, and at the end of the day, they were like, yeah, this wasn't what we were hoping for. We're like, what do you mean? This is exactly what all of our notes had. And they were like, well, we really like your dailies. We were thinking maybe this could be just a long string of like daily reel style videos.
We straight up shot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah. And I think that was early on in the daily reel.
We didn't consider those when talking to the client. Those were what we were doing for our own creativity, and sharing them had nothing to do with the client interaction. But you're right. That affected
expectations,
their expectations.
And it was that I don't know. I think there's a realization at that point that that's our style.
Yeah.
Like that's what we want. Like that's what we want to share. That's what we want people to see us for and know us for. And it's turned into this really cool way for, people to really see, this is Inland Film Co. Like,
right. And I think that is a good thing to recognize, because there are a few projects we finished recently that I think we would be nervous. There are a few projects we finished recently that we would be pretty nervous to hand those over to a client if we didn't have those experiences. Now that we're editing in the style that we know we like and we are sending it off to the client, there's much more confidence on our part because of that event right there. Granted, there are still revisions, but I think there are a few projects that we've sent off and we've both said we feel really good about these because we really dug into that daily reel kind of style that we're developing. Our daily reels are a way for us to experiment with our editing and really hone in on a unique style that is our own. And I think we felt a lot more confident about sending projects to clients lately because we know that they see what we're posting every single day. They know what to expect. And then if something strange that we thought, oh my gosh, this looks really cool, it's got to be this way, we send it over to them. They've already experienced a lot of our strange ideas, so it's not as shocking to them. They see it and they go, okay, this is pretty much what I was prepared for.
Totally.
That's just a thought that I just had.
But
this is what I meant in the beginning of this, as I said, I think through things in the moment when we're talking, and these ideas are just now popping into my head.
Yeah, and for the two people that are listening, which are Sam and I, we hope that it spoke to you some way.
Sometimes on YouTube, we will have 5 views on a daily reel that we posted. All 5 of those views were you playing it twice, me playing it twice, and then me going home and playing it another time for my wife. There's the 5 views right there.
There it was. There it is. You have it. You heard it. You heard it first here. But we do have some that have more than others, so...
I could see it in your eyes that you didn't like me saying that.
I don't care.
Good.
I'll make fun of us all day
It's
long.
good.
We don't care.
What's that?
At the end of the day, this is... we are doing this because we are moving in a direction.
We're moving in a direction.
And if you are not wanting to watch us or follow us and listen to us in that direction, like, that's fine. I hope that this is a medium that can touch, not a touch is like a really awful way to say it, but like they can speak to somebody, to, even if it's just one person that they're like, hey, this is useful content, useful conversation, or even if it's somebody that hears us, it could be somebody who hears us and says, I want to work with those guys, and we get the most solid, next person to work with us, or somebody wants to send us anything like alcohol, then that
you did mention that the current
meaningful
kegs on tap here were provided by
Hidden Mother. So, put some chapstick on. People are going to see that the whole podcast.
Chapstick.
My addiction with Burt's Bees. Rest in peace.
Are they done?
No. The guy that created it.
Oh, he did?
He passed away a few years ago.
A few years ago?
Yeah.
That's literally how long it's been since I've thought about the brand Burt's Bees.
Yeah, and he
I
was
just
like,
got really sad.
He was like not into money or anything. Like,
right. There was a documentary done about him. He was weird.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I think he
kind of
died with,
wished
like,
I could be like him.
Yeah, Bert. I bet this is his name. His like wife or partner was the really the brains behind like, hey, let's put this. What?
Dude, she wasn't even wife or partner. It's amazing. You need to watch the documentary.
Oh, yeah, I'll watch the documentary.
Speaking of Cinetherapy,
right?
You need to go watch the documentary on Bert from Burt's Bees, because it is. I mean, it's almost like a Black Mirror episode, dude.
Okay. I'm gonna do it. Send it to me. Send me the link. I'll let you talk about this. One piece of gear lately that you think it's just like you're so stoked that we have.
One piece of gear that I'm stoked that we have. Well, I think the one thing that's on my mind is our SmallHD monitor. But that's only because I never ever have to think about it. We don't personally fly drones. We have a drone guy. We always outsource the drones because I don't really want to go get my FAA. Neither do you. That's going to take a lot of time. Also, I like that there are other creatives in our town who have drones. But I needed to operate the camera, the second remote, and we didn't have a lightning cable for my iPhone to plug into his drone. So we did have an extra HDMI. I grabbed the SmallHD monitor off of our Sony FS7 that we were just using for all the other shots. I don't know if you've ever worked with the DJI remotes for the bigger drones.
Or the audience right now.
Well, I know you have. But when you are working with one of the bigger remotes for a DJI drone, not like a Mavic or something small, but there's a clamp system for your phone. And that clamp system doesn't really work very well for a SmallHD monitor with a bunch of batteries on the back. So I was able to clamp it onto the battery and hope to God that I didn't shake it off. But we plugged it in. We had all of our LUTs that we use for reference. We had focus peaking. I had all these cool tools. It worked. I could actually see the drone footage fitting into our final piece. It was like a total we don't have a extra cable for a phone. Why don't we just use this huge monitor? And it worked really, really well. There's one piece of gear that I'm stoked that we have. We've used it for so long. I don't ever really think about it. It just works.
We do have some dead pixels on it, though. So if they want to send us a new one,
how did those what?
You put it. I'm not blaming this on you.
We do have dead pixels on there, and they do happen to be in the same pattern on the screen as the gears, the focus gears on our lenses.
Yeah. So where it sits in the Pelican, at one point we were like, "Oh, this would be a good spot to put it," and it was displayed down on top of the lenses.
Yeah, on the focus gears, and it's like. It's in the cool foam case that they give you from SmallHD, but still, that didn't matter. So we had to rethink the way that we packed our Pelican.
And it works now.
Kind
of looks like the aliens from Arrival, like, just touched it with their little hand.
That is kind of what it looks like.
Right? So, yeah. Definitely. I'm in agreement. SmallHD, good, solid product that we've used. We'll put the link to that in our podcast because we're not getting sponsored by them. But
no, we tag them in a lot of things on our Instagram.
We tag them, and we're really happy with their product. We don't have any sponsors at all, and we won't probably ever. But we'll talk about the products we like.
Okay, so we're towards the end of this. What's one filmmaker or a film that you've watched recently that's really impacted you? I feel like I already know who the answer is, but that's just because we've only talked about one person.
You're right. So I know that you know what I'm going to say because we have talked about her quite a bit. And I have a list of especially independent filmmakers that I follow. And if you follow me on Twitter, right now it's MWilliams09. Hopefully that can change someday, but that's where you'll find me. I'll put the link to that in this podcast, but there's no secret of who I enjoy. I will stick with one person for this podcast.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about other people later. I am a major fan of Reed Morano these days. I think that her work on The Handmaid's Tale, the first 3 episodes, was fantastic. I watched an episode of Billions with my wife, and I thought to myself, this had to have been done by Reed Morano. And sure enough, at the end of the episode, I crap you not, it's directed by Reed Morano. Anyways, I'm just a fan. So her most recent film, I Think We're Alone Now, with Peter Dinklage and Ellie Fanning, both you and I.
By the way, it's Elle Fanning.
Yeah, Elle Fanning.
The only reason that I'm so big on that one is that we like the name Elle for our daughter. And it's spelled Ellie, and I have heard every actor say Elle.
Yes, E-L-L-E. Yes. Sorry.
It's a big deal.
Should I re-say that? Or
no, I take that seriously.
Okay. Elle Fanning. Sorry, I didn't research the pronunciation of Elle Fanning's first name.
Let's be honest. I watched one interview with Peter Dinklage about this film, and he said Elle Fanning.
Okay.
And I stuck on that one.
Cool. So, Peter Dinklage, Elle Fanning. I'll keep it there. It was a great film, and I am a fan of it. It was weird in all the right ways, and I think if there's anything I can say about it, it's that it left me asking questions after the film. And I think if you walk away like still thinking about a film and you think like, why would they do this, or what did this mean or that mean, I think that a film it did a good job. And some people could argue that, you know, they want all the questions answered, and for me, I don't know. I enjoy.
That's definitely something that we talked about a lot with the films we watch or the TV shows we watch, is all the questions being answered. I'll come in and I'll be talking about how I watched this film and it bothers me that none of these questions weren't answered, and your standard response is that isn't it doing its job if you are seriously contemplating it this much? So that's interesting that that's the thing that you've latched onto from that one.
Yeah, and I won't go into it. If you're listening, watch it, and then maybe we'll talk about it more in detail later and give a disclaimer, but I think we're alone now. It's available on iTunes right now. It might be airing or not premiering, but airing at a theater in your city. It didn't make it to ours, but...
It didn't make it to ours, but we did get to watch it on a gigantic 4K HDR projector system.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it cool. Just looked so good.
Yeah, so that's the film that I've enjoyed. I'll add to this. This is probably a teaser to something we'll talk about in the future. You said it was interesting that I latched onto that. At the same time, I think that in like a series or show and even movies, that enough context to a person's history or their like origin story has to be given to the audience for you to like believe that they are the way they are because they are that way, or because they grew up that way.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like lie to you and say that, oh yeah, let's just leave everything a mystery. And
right.
I want to express that.
Yeah.
If a character is to be believed or for believable, that especially when they do weird stuff, you gotta explain why they do that weird stuff in some way. It can be subtle.
I think that point is something that we also have talked about. I mean, you said it, we sit and talk face to face all the time, across from each other. My piece of cinema that I'm really obsessed with is my wife and I finished season 2 of Ozark, and there was a character in there that you felt there wasn't enough backstory on, but I felt like the lack of backstory added to his character. I brought your points up, what you just said about needing everything can't just be a big mystery. I brought that up with my wife, and she instantly was like, "Oh, I didn't understand that character. I didn't like how much they focused on him because I didn't." She said, like, almost word for word, not as profound as you did, but that's kind of a conversation that we've been having a lot, is like, how much mystery can you leave there? And I think that's what I liked about I Think We're Alone Now, is that there was enough mystery, but at the same time they continued to give just enough backstory, even if it was like one small thing in the script. The way that he said these 2 words made you understand so much more about who he is or who he was. Peter Dinklage has one line in there where the Elle Fanning's character is questioning him, and he finally says, "I was alone. I felt most alone when
I was in this town with 16,000 people."
I felt most alone when I was in this town with 16,000 people. However he said it, the way that he said it, the script was so short right there. His line was so short, but the way that he said it and what he said instantly gave you a whole book of his backstory in that one little word. And I think that made me think of Ozark, this one character that I was interested in, but you had a problem with. What one little tiny thing could he have said that gave you a world of backstory for him?
I think just reference in that this character you're talking about, just referencing something about his father or his mother, or it didn't have to be much. I find it interesting. I thought that your wife also quit watching early, but she kept watching with you?
Yeah.
Okay. My wife was like 2 episodes in, like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. And I think it was actually that character that like scared her.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. And I get that. So you said that's the show. That would be your
I went in and I answered the question before you could answer. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. I appreciate that.
I was trying to think of what piece of cinema I've been watching lately that really affected me, or what director. And my answer would have also been Reed Morano. I mean, we've been talking about her so much in the studio, driving. We've been like, that's been the only director we talk about right now in this last week. But it was just interesting that one of the things you had to say about her film, I Think We're Alone Now, in that moment made me think of something we've talked about in Ozark.
Yep. Totally.
Am I remembering this correctly? Did Company 3, did somebody from Company 3 color grade Ozark?
Yes.
And Company 3 also color graded I Think We're Alone Now.
Yes. I think I'll do research on who did Ozark.
I don't think it was somebody from Company 3. I think it was it?
Yes, they posted before the season came out.
Oh my gosh. I just think let's just be honest, Company 3 is the common theme in everything that we like.
Very much so. They do everything.
We personally color grade we've got S-Log footage. We're not even filming in RAW most of the time. It's just S-Log footage from a Sony FS7, and we throw it into Premiere Pro, and we're color grading inside the Lumetri tab, which is, I mean, for any color grading artist, I don't think they would take the Lumetri tab very seriously.
No.
But for us, we're filmmakers. I'm a director of photography. You're a director. We don't have a color grading artist. And so I think the day that we get to work with a color grading artist, I don't care what program they use. If they use DaVinci Resolve, amazing. But for us, we watch anything that Company 3 has to do with, or anything that Reed Morano has to do with, and we go, how do we make that look happen inside Premiere?
Yeah.
That's how we do everything.
And we're never going to get it to look exactly like that.
No.
But if we get it to even slightly give us that same feeling, then I'm pretty happy. Because
you'll look over at me when we're grading something. You'll look over at me and you'll go, does it give you the feeling?
Yeah.
Not yet. Let's keep going.
Totally. And yeah, gosh, they're freaking good. The last couple things are like exciting things planned in the future. I think you got maybe more than I have to talk about.
What are your exciting things then?
I'm a Liverpool fan, and Liverpool plays Napoli in the Champions League on Wednesday. That's really exciting. I think I just celebrated 6 years of marriage over the weekend with my wife, which is pretty freaking sweet. Bomb. It's not in the future, but we're on our 7th year. I'll say that's in the future.
I like that. We're on our 7th year.
Yeah. So nothing too crazy right now. What about you, Sam?
We're having a baby.
Whoa!
Like we're 4 weeks. We're about 4 weeks out, and things are getting stressful. Things are getting uncomfortable. We got our doctor on call. It's good. This is good.
It's really good. It's exciting. I'm so stoked for you guys.
One of the things that I've been thinking about this lately. We listen to Ryan Conley and the Film Riot podcast, and we've watched Film Riot so much. When Ryan Conley and his wife had a baby this last year or the year before,
I think it was within the last
year. And the only thing that we got
year and a half
out of that is he just said, by the way, this video posted today is just it's a repost of something long ago because my wife and I just had a baby. And that was like, wait, are you serious? You guys just had a baby? Like that has never come up. I was always interested in that one. Like, what is it in our job, you and I come into this studio almost every day, and we're editing and we're filming and we're out on location. So like I'm starting to think about like, what does it look like for us? We don't like, am I going to take a week off? You made a joke. You said, I'm planning paternity leave, but you said that, Mitch, you said I'm planning paternity leave, partner paternity.
Yes.
I've been laughing about that this whole time. So like now you talk about exciting things. We're going to have a baby. That's exciting. But then for us, we got to plan, and I'm thankful that you've even talked about that. Like we got to film for this next month. We got to film all of our commercial projects up front. We got to make sure everything's like ready to edit. If either of us are going to need to be editing, you'll probably be in here some days, but you're going to want to be at home. We're going to need to make sure we've got footage on our hard drives. We've got a huge archived hard drive that's going to stay here, but like we got to make sure that we can work from home. Those things are starting to pop up. And I think I'm surprised. I thought Ryan Conley having a baby, maybe he'd bring up like, what does it look like working for a film company? Like he talks about family enough. I don't know.
And we might have missed that.
Maybe we missed it.
Yeah, I don't know. I appreciate that he talks about family.
Maybe this is more of an invitation to Ryan Conley, who definitely is listening to this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Is he?
He's so listening to this podcast.
He is so listening. Ryan, we're interested in how you manage having a baby and running a film company. That's what I want to know, Ryan.
Totally. Since we're talking about him, did you watch their latest video?
No, is it the one with the tank?
The tank and teddy bears.
I have not watched it.
Guns and teddy bears.
It popped up. You know what? To be honest with you, I haven't been watching much YouTube lately. It's because you got me listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been spending my time doing.
It's good. I was going to say funniest thing you've seen on the internet this week, but you're not on the internet because you're a minimalist now. So
I still actually, now that the new iOS has added statistics, or like what's it called? Screen time.
Yeah, whatever.
It shows you. I know for a fact that I am still very much on the internet.
Okay.
I'm a little bit the wannabe minimalist that I am is disappointed in the amount of internet I'm consuming.
We should look at their screen time, the minimalists.
We probably
Because
should.
I think they're probably freaking full of it.
He said one of the guys. There's Ryan. What's the other guy's name?
I don't know.
I can't even remember. The guy with he always makes jokes about his hair. He's got big hair.
Yeah.
He says that he doesn't have Instagram on his phone. If he has to post on the minimalist page, he downloads Instagram, posts it, and then deletes the app again. And I think, okay, we go back, you and I go back and forth with the dailies posting. There is no way I could not have Instagram on my phone to just post it or like comment back. That stressed me out hearing him say he downloads the app, posts it, and then deletes it. What happens if I download the app, post our daily reel, and then delete the app, and then you text me and say, hey, can you make one text edit?
Yeah.
I can't, Mitch. I deleted Instagram immediately after I posted this.
We're screwed.
I'm not going that far, okay?
I'll answer that question though, because it's just a quick mention. I think both Sam and I could agree that Bob Menery's got us laughing quite a bit.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty freaking funny.
Guaranteed the funniest thing I've seen on the internet lately is whatever Bob Menery just posted.
Yeah.
We are Ripper Magoos.
Next week, join us as we discuss our mantra internally here, ABR, and find out what that means, as well as find out our favorite question we get asked from random people on the street when they see and learn that we're in the filmmaking business. And that's a wrap.